Ship Fever, 1996, is a collection of 7 short stories and 1 novella by Andrea Barrett, which earned the U.S. National Book Award for Fiction that same year. Several of the pieces fall within historical fiction, and all are infused with Barrett's deep interest in science and its history. Many of the stories unfold in the 18th or 19th centuries, while others take place in the 20th. Alongside science, Barrett examines themes of feminism, fractured families bound uneasily by marriage, and rivalries among naturalists. A recurring figure is the famed botanist and taxonomist Linnaeus, whose presence threads through at least 3 works. In The English Pupil, the aging, dementia-stricken Linnaeus, barely aware of his own family, recalls his students and their far-flung adventures, many of whom perished in their pursuit of science. His final disciple, Rotherham, outlives him. The story wrestles with regret and mortality, summed up in Linnaeus's lament. The death of many whom I have induced to travel has turned my hair gray, and what have I gained? A few dried plants, accompanied by great anxiety, unrest, and care. This is the only story where he is central, though he also surfaces in letters and mentions in Rare Bird and Birds with No Feet. Barrett also turns her attention to women who outgrow the confines of conventional gender roles, particularly as they reach middle age. These narratives are haunted by the isolation of women whose intellect is unwelcome in a culture that privileges male intelligence. In The Behavior of the Hawkweeds, Antonia, connected through her family to Mendel, seizes control of her story after years of distortion by her husband Richard, a professor who misrepresents Mendel's work to his students. She recounts the truth to Sebastian, one of Richard's favored pupils, telling of her grandfather's friendship with Mendel and of the treasured letter he once received. The question of women's intelligence and freedom appears even more starkly in Rare Bird, set in the mid-18th century. Sarah Ann, a spinster educated alongside her brother by their naturalist father, is denied recognition for her intellect. Sarah Ann inherited her father's brains, but Christopher inherited everything else, including his father's friends. To the older naturalists, she is a curiosity. Linnaeus dismisses her ideas, and her brother resents her sharp mind and independence, fearing lifelong responsibility for her. His disdain deepens after he marries Juliet, a graceful young woman of little intellect. Eventually, Sarah Ann meets Catherine Pierce, a widowed woman of equal intelligence and scientific passion, and together they flee to an unknown future. The dynamics of difficult families also shape many stories. The Littoral Zone follows Ruby and Jonathan, scientists who fall in love during a summer research program while still married to others. Their affair destroys their families and careers, yet they remarry each other and 15 years later live with the unresolved consequences. Their children and former spouses never forgive them, and the two cling to myths about their relationship, carefully maintained to avoid collapse. Yet disappointment permeates their lives. Neither likes to think about how much of the thrill of their early days together came from the obstacles they had to overcome. Some days, she can't believe the heavy-set figure pruning shrubs so meticulously is the man for whom she fought such battles. Jonathan sometimes stares at Ruby's sleeping face and thinks how much more gracefully his ex-wife is aging. Another story, Soroche, centers on a young woman married to a wealthy older man who dies after 2 decades, leaving her his fortune. Caught between her own working-class relatives, envious of her wealth, and her embittered stepchildren, she withdraws from both families. After a miscarriage early in her marriage and Joel's refusal to have more children, she eventually inherits his vast estate. Choosing to give it all away, she donates to charities and failed ventures until she is left with little. By the end, she finds freedom and contentment in modesty, working as a receptionist and shedding the burden of wealth. The title novella, Ship Fever, tells of Lachlan Grant, a young Canadian doctor who spends a summer in a quarantine station treating Irish immigrants. His journal entries are interlaced with the narrative, beginning with his expectation of routine cases of dysentery and malnutrition. Instead, he confronts devastation. Already Lachlan felt as though he knew that place by heart. The darkness, of course, and the rotting food and the filth sloshing underfoot. The fetid bedding alive with vermin, and everywhere the sick. Typhoid fever ravages the ships, leaving only a few survivors. Patients are moved to overcrowded hospitals or left in makeshift shelters, while the dead lie in stacks along the beach, awaiting burial. Driven by the medical mystery, Lachlan studies how illness spreads and how quarantine might save lives. Yet even the doctors and nurses succumb. Lachlan himself collapses, nursed by Nora, a girl he once rescued. He dies of the fever, leaving Nora to carry his belongings back to his friends. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy this video, leave a like and subscribe.